has the startup ecosystem changed during the pandemic? It is a very general question in purpose, so you may choose what to describe by
Mhm.
yourself. Something important for you, or surprising, or insightful,
Mhm.
please.
Yeah, sure. So we've all been waiting for a massive, let's say, drop down in terms of the deals, of course, right? With when the pandemics hit, and I was sitting actually in my studio in Los Angeles while I just got off the phone with the team. Everyone was confused and didn't know what will happen next. Neither I, right? So for those who made it in the venture world after the financial crisis, like me, in 2007, like it was a disaster. Like since we had zero experience in the events like this, a massive unemployment, total lockdown, Black Lives Matter movement went to a hard phase, and eventually the curfew in Los Angeles. It's when you are not like allowed to get out of your home after certain hours. Was really crazy, right? But after all of this, what we have seen. So stock markets were performing better than before. Startups funding hit all the records. Funds were pouring founders with money to launch new ventures, especially pre-seed and seed deals. And even though everything around and every aspect of our lives was under the pressure, totally freezed, right? So the deals were coming and coming, and this is in the U.S., not Ukraine. So Ukraine is a bit like different ecosystem. Like unfortunately, we don't have that much dry powder on our hand to invest. We've got only a few VCs who are really active on Ukrainian markets, and I really would admit that. It's extremely hard to raise locally, especially in the times like we're living in. So nevertheless, the deals are happening now. I'm actually leading a deal in purely Ukrainian company, the direct-to-consumer brand. The announcement will be, I believe, this year. Yeah, so I would say that Ukrainians are strong enough to weather the storm. And get back to the business actually. So hopefully we can get out of this really soon. And probably another comment I'd like to add that even though it seems like you've got the money and you're the king and you can invest everywhere, the pandemics has accelerated the trend to invest remotely, right, with not physically seen founders. Thus, any fund has much more competition to win over the competitors. VC partners are more than ever in need to have a personal brand, a super strong value add to founders to break into the deals. It's now about where you not about where you sit anymore. It's about what value you can bring to the table, even if you are miles away across the pond. Yeah, actually, I've closed another deal recently in a company before the YC demo day, and where Peter Thiel and other a few famous folks invested afterwards. Yeah, I would have less odds to make a deal like this in pre-COVID time. So it's much easier to me to invest currently. And yeah, and the timing, of course, has changed a lot. It's like significantly a lot like different from what I see in Europe and Ukraine. But Europe accelerated like the pace too, of course. Before the pandemics, we've been seeing the deals in Europe, which were closing in months, like 4 or 5 months. Now it can be weeks. It depends, of course, it depends on a particular company and the sector, but like we can admit as of now that the acceleration really happening as of now. Yeah, so that's a kind of my view on the pandemic stuff.
Great, thank you. You answered the question from the side of investor, how investor looks on the changes, since you are
Yeah.
very active investor a board of Ukraine as well, with tens of deals with a lot of co-investors from all over the world, international funds, from different countries. Have you seen any change in how investors take risks today? For our startups, probably, to get some insights, also both from Ukraine and from Israel that are listening to us today, for how the view of investors, international investors, of course, as well, is changed on investment opportunities.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So first of all went like extremely online, right? So there is almost no in-person meeting scheduled currently. Investors are actively learning how to do business geography agnostic, as T Venture does. Of course, in particular cases where physical operations are involved, like delivery or warehousing, etc. So it's advisable to visit those and see how everything works from the inside out, right? But in majority of cases, if you invest, for example, only in deep tech, there is no strong need to visit the founders, right? And for startups, it does mean that you are more than welcome to reach out to those folks in different regions, but please make a research on the particular person before you press the send button, all right? Yeah, investors are now more flexible, I would say, thus having more time speaking to startups. We're not attending like 3-4 days conference anymore. Everyone sitting in front of their screens and smartphones like 10 hours per day. Yeah, I actually think investors have become more accessible to a wider audience. So yeah, please startups take your chance to speak to the investors at this moment. So yeah, also I'd like to stress that investors are now taking faster decisions from what I see because of the competition. It actually helps founders to be focused on the operations more rather than on raising funds, right? In our firm, we hold a weekly investment committee where we push companies internally and vote for them. The process became more clear. You don't need like to gather 10 people in under one roof to vote. Other funds have the same approach. From what I see, we co-invest with dozens new investors like every year. We do like 15 to 20 deals per year. And actually, how fast the investor is would define whether this firm will break into the deals. That's how we see it. And our example is that we usually don't lead rounds, so we usually follow. That means, yeah, that means we follow someone's opinion or two opinions. And now we are more comfortable to commit the first check into the round and then bring the lead investor or co-investors to the table. Of course, this strategy is more favorable, which actually helps us to deliver the real value to the founders, like from the early days. And founders are more open to work with those venture capitalists who is actually sharing this value, a part of the money. And it's now important to get into the deal super early, as I do personally, like pre-seed early, like pre-revenue early, like pre-product early. We started doing that once pandemic started, and I would say it helped a lot in winning deals and in solidifying the reputation that we have as a firm. So yeah, so that's the story.
Great, thank you very much.